In this video, we are talking about the top 8 beers to pair with Thanksgiving dinner. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Tree House Brewing Company YouTube channel, where from time to time we try beers from across the country, and in the instance of this video, make recommendations for them. Listen, beer is one of the most versatile and complex drinks. Sourcing great ones for Thanksgiving will add value to your dinner and hopefully make it the most memorable ever. We have 8 commercial examples that you can probably get anywhere in America, and for the Treehouse fans, we're gonna make our own local recommendations. To keep in mind as we make our way through the video, the way that I'm thinking about this personally and the way that I approach it is kind of like a beer pairing dinner. Crack a can, split it with 2 or 3 people, and as the evening or afternoon progresses, just kind of take yourself on your own little beer journey of discovery while not overwhelming your palates. We're actually gonna go generally from the start of dinner to the end of dinner. And the beers as we go along get darker. So the recommendations early are light. During the main course of dinner, they get kind of more robust. And toward the end, we're drinking and we're sipping and we're, watching the fireplace crackle. So the first recommendation that I wanna make in terms of beer styles that are ideal to enjoy with Thanksgiving is any type of pale lager. You might be asking yourself, what does that mean? And that kind of pale lager area is huge and open to interpretation. It's any beer that's bottom fermented that runs the gamut of American style lager through German style Pilsner, Czech style Pilsner, Japanese style lager, you name it. Anything that's pale, light, modestly hopped, really simple, dry, low alcohol is a beer that you can enjoy throughout Thanksgiving dinner for obvious reasons. It also is a really good way to start your night and get into things. I would not recommend American light lager with your Thanksgiving dinner. I wouldn't recommend Budweiser. I wouldn't recommend Coors. In fact, I'd invite something from Europe, something from the Czech Republic, or something from Germany. These beers are still light, super palatable, but they have a lot more character and they're generally a lot more flavorful. So across America, you can pick up what's called Bitburger Premium Pils. And for your Thanksgiving dinner, that's the kind of macro version that I would recommend. And here at Treehouse, we make a pre-war Pilsner called Field Burner. Both of these beers are modestly hopped, but they have a lot more character and punch than your typical American lager examples. That all said, throughout Thanksgiving dinner, any pale style lager is going to work wonderfully. The second style of beer I want to recommend is, of course, hazy style IPA. Now, hazy style IPA doesn't necessarily pair well with Thanksgiving dinner itself. Thanksgiving is about sharing, and what better to share than your favorite hazy IPA. I would recommend enjoying it before or after dinner and in between food courses. In terms of a readily available mass market recommendation, I would recommend Hazy Little Thing from our friends at Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. This can generally be had anywhere in the country and accessed fresh. Certainly good to have year-round and a solid start to your Thanksgiving dinner. If you're local to Treehouse, we would recommend none other than Julius, which is our favorite beer on the planet, and frankly, I want to drink it with every holiday all the time for all the reasons. Okay, so now we're getting into the good stuff. Number 1, pale lager. Number 2, hazy IPA. Number 3, any smoked style beer. Now, if you haven't had smoked beer, basically and generally what happens is a portion of or all of the malt is smoked over a certain type of wood. Could be beech wood, could be hickory, you name it. That smoke imparts that rich, smoky campfire character upon the malt and makes the beer irresistible. Smoky style beer will pair well with any food. It's probably my top pairing if I had to pick one. Pairs well with roasted turkey, gravy, ham, herb stuffing, charcuterie, smoked sides, you name it. Cold New England nights, get yourself a smoked beer. In terms of the market where you can find one readily, Schlenkerla's Marzen beer, Rauch beer is going to be a very, very smoky German classic that you can get just about anywhere. And again, if you're local to Treehouse and you're watching, Little Fire is our smoke style Helles. It's not overwhelmingly smoky, it's accentedly smoky, and man, it's wonderful and crushable. All right, guys, so now we're getting into it. We're getting into the courses now. We've got some dark meat turkey on the plate. We've got some stuffing coming along, and we start to think a little bit darker of a beer. And the first beer in that regard that I would be reaching for on Thanksgiving is any style of brown ale. Specifically, I would pick English style, sweeter, not overly hoppy, but if you have to, American style examples are also good. So in terms of what I'd recommend for the mass market, guys, usually in most places you can get your hands on Samuel Smith's Nut Brown Ale. This is an absolute classic, very, very, very hard to go wrong. And if you are local to us here in Treehouse, you are probably very familiar with a beer called Bear. Can't go wrong with either one of these. Bear has a little bit more of a hop note to it. It's a very, very robust brown ale. A lot of people equate it to a porter or even a lighter stout, but that's the way we like it. Rich, hearty, filling, and delicious. All right, so the fifth style of beer that I would recommend is actually a German style beer called a Schwarzbier. The way to think about a Schwarzbier is that it's this 19th century old school style beer. It's inky black. It looks really, really rich, but it actually drinks really, really easily. So it's a very robust beer in your glass. You get tons of like chocolate characteristics. It pairs really well with roast on the table. We've got darker, heavier flavors starting to make their way around. And it's around that time that having a beer that has those heavier flavors come through is ideal, while at the same time it's actually really drinkable and won't weigh your palate down. So to me, in the middle course of a Thanksgiving, midday when you're just starting to feel it, that German style Schwarzbier is the perfect style. Super robust, super flavorful, but not overly heavy at that point in time. So the mass market example of Schwarzbier that I would recommend is Kostritzer, relatively ubiquitous, distributed in America for your convenience and enjoyment. And the example that I would recommend to Treehouse fans who are local to us is a beer called Bergsteiger. Both beers are going to be, like I said, super dark, robust, but not overly heavy, and they won't weigh your palate down, so it's the best of both worlds. So the sixth beer on Thanksgiving dinner that I want to recommend is any style of robust porter. We're getting toward the end of the meal now. You're feeling kind of full. You're looking to transition from the dining table to the couch. At this point in time, I'm reaching for a robust porter. Robust porter has all those dark, roasty characteristics, but it introduces a additional level of kind of heft and caramel character that kind of gives you that rich, like I'm on the backside of my night feeling, while still being pretty drinkable as we transition to heavier finishing dishes. So in terms of the mass market readily available here in America porter that I would recommend for you, Founders Porter is an iconic classic. Very, very delicious beer. Again, heavier than a Schwarzbier, but not as heavy as, say, an Imperial Stout, which we'll talk about in a second. If you're local to Treehouse, one of my personal favorite beers that we make, and one that I quite look forward to, is a beer called Catharsis. You can't go wrong with either one, but if you find yourself in the area of Treehouse, you can certainly pick up a beer that I think is one of our better ones. All right, guys, number 7 and number 8, I kind of want to combine for the purposes of this conversation: barrel-aged Imperial Stout and barrel-aged barley wine. This part of the meal, more than likely desserts are being passed around. You've already had the bulk of your meal. You're sitting down, you want something in a snifter glass that you can swirl about. The barley wine I would recommend with something savory personally. So if there's a post-dinner cheese course, or even a pre-dinner cheese course, I would recommend pairing the barley wine with something less sweet and more savory. And if you must have an Imperial Stout, I would recommend pairing it, of course, with dessert. So in terms of what you can expect from flavor, in the barley wine, you're gonna get a lot of caramel, butterscotch, bourbon-soaked vanilla, and things like that. In the Imperial Stout, you're gonna get some deep, dark chocolate. Sometimes you'll get like a Tootsie Roll flavor, and you're gonna get that vanilla-forward bourbon. The perfect digestif to Thanksgiving dinner. In terms of what I would recommend from the mass market, there's a lot of them out there. Honestly, I'd probably first recommend Bourbon County Stout from Goose Island, which we couldn't get our hands on. For the purposes of this video, we're recommending a second Founders beer called KBS. In my opinion, this doesn't totally encompass the super heavy syrupy body that I look for to pair with a dessert. But that said, for a mass market example, it's very, very tasty. And here at Treehouse, if you find yourself in the area, any variant of Truth or our bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Stout is going to go just lovely with your Thanksgiving wine down. In terms of barrel-aged barley wine, I couldn't find a great mass market example readily available. Here at Treehouse, we have a beer called Tree of Life. This beer very inauspiciously comes in a can, and it tastes so good. So good. If you haven't had a bourbon barrel-aged barley wine that's well made, in terms of digestif style after dinner sippers, I don't think it gets any better in beer than a well-made barley wine. So you guys watching, you've been awesome in the comments lately. I just want to mention that 70% of people who watch are not currently subscribed, and subscribing is actually a great way to support the channel and ensure that you see future content. In addition to that, we do have our own brewery here in central Massachusetts. We'll leave a link down below if you're from afar. We do suggest planning a trip. All right, guys, that's it for today. 8 different beer styles to try with your Thanksgiving dinner. I think it's a lot of fun to open your mind and your palate to new experiences. If you guys have had these styles before, try something different. But if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to branch out at your local liquor store, try different things, try some of these pairings. Of course, let me know what you think. I hope you and yours have a great holiday. And as always, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.